I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have kids.
I mean, me neither, but like you said, I would have still got to this place, but in different time.
Would have got my groove back. Welcome to the Hottest Wellness Podcast. I've got time with Cherry ShaKayla.
Here we discuss personal growth, relationships, and healing to become aligned with the best version of ourselves. Hey, Anae.
What's up?
My vibration's up.
That counts.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I could use a nap or 3. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
So,
Felt.
went through a lot of emotions today. From start to finish.
Well, the good thing is that you're feeling them. You know what I'm saying?
Is it?
Yeah, whatever feelings you're having, they'll be there a lot longer if you don't process them and just let them, go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I don't know why, but right now I'm just thinking about one of those kids with the leash. Y'all, Cherry think it's okay for kids to be leashed.
It's totally fine. First of all, don't say it like that.
It's a leash.
But when you say it like that, it doesn't sound the way it actually looks.
It looks like the child's on a leash like an animal.
There's nothing around their neck for people that don't know what we're talking about.
It's like a backpack or something.
It's
They
like
be having
a
a harness. Yeah, and it'd be like, dogs have harnesses too.
I think it's totally appropriate.
I feel like if your kid's running around that crazy, just don't take them out, because...
What if you don't have a choice? And honestly, the way one of our children likes to walk off and leave us behind...
I would never leash my child.
I know you would never. I'm just saying it would come in handy.
When I see it, I think it's weird as hell.
Well...
Didn't you used to get leashed or something?
Yeah.
That's why you think it's okay. You're trying to convince yourself that traumatic event was...
Well, no, I just think it's okay.
How old was you?
I've seen... I don't know. I don't know. I've seen some unhinged children that needed to stay in one place and refused and almost got their ass kidnapped or hit by a car. And the leash would have stopped it.
Almost doesn't count.
Just saying. Anyways.
Do you have anything you want to get off your chest this week?
I don't know if I'm ready.
Okay. Sometimes it be like that.
Yeah. What about you?
It's a couple of things I wanted to discuss. One is just kind of like funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one I feel like is more serious. So I'm going to start with the funny one.
Okay.
Since I'm in a silly, goofy mode. Okay, so Snoop Dogg has made a statement that he is done smoking weed. He said that after, I guess, talks with his family and like he just decided it was time to stop smoking, and I just was like, damn, because that's such an integral part of his brand. Like, what's that gonna look like? But I just thought it was funny because like quitting weed, like to me, it don't sound like something you quit. Like, weed's not a drug to me, but I could see how some people it is an addiction.
Well, I guess it is technically a drug, especially now that it's being manufactured.
It's a plant, but
it's not just a plant anymore.
If that's what you think, I mean, that's just not my personal perspective on it. Like, I don't even think people use marijuana like they use crack. I feel like they're sitting with marijuana.
I'm talking about what may or may not be in it now.
If anything, it was worse before. Not going getting it from some random dude or whatever. Like, you don't know where he got it from or what's in it.
Okay. Not sure you're picking up. You're not picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm not.
Anyways.
The part that was especially funny to me is because he was like, just respect him and his family's privacy at this time. Like, it was a death or something.
It's a big commitment.
Like, R.I.P. to my blunts.
That's great. His blunt roller. Are they unemployed now?
It seems like it. Maybe he can, you know, pass a reference to somebody else or something.
That's crazy.
I feel like he should get some severance pay for just coming out of nowhere saying, I won't be smoking anymore. Maybe he can roll up something else for him. I don't know. Maybe he'll smoke herbal joints like rose or, you know, lavender. What? Herbal joints.
Like, that's the only thing that's in it?
It's different herbs. So there'll be like rose, it'll be lavender, like all kind of different herbs.
I don't think he's gonna do that.
Well,
why do you think he's stopping?
I think maybe it could be health related. He is getting pretty old, and like over time, smoking, no matter what it is, will do damage to your lungs. That's why a lot of people are doing edibles now. You know. It could be just something he feel like is grown out of, or maybe he want to take his brain in a whole different direction. Like, he is like a mega star, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's way more than anybody ever thought he was going to be. It's just a rapper, so it could be that, you know?
It's interesting.
What you think?
I have no idea. I actually was thinking about it for a good 10 minutes. Like, why would you just up and quit smoking weed? And that's like your life's journey.
Well,
but I don't know.
All journeys come to an end. And maybe he's just on a new path right now. I mean, I respect it. I take breaks frequently because I think that you do need to take breaks. So, whatever it is that you might be using anything to escape, you should take a break from it so that you can process. You know what I'm saying? But also, if you never take breaks, your tolerance just gets higher and higher and higher. And then, who's paying for all this weed?
Yeah.
Legal weed is so high, especially here.
What if it's really a break? But he ain't tell nobody it was a break. He was just like, yeah, I'll quit.
No, I don't think he would announce it to the world if it was just a break. He probably already been not doing it for a little bit, and now he had to say it so that people would stop inviting him, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can imagine, like, everybody's just like, yeah, you want to hit this? He probably got to stay home for a minute, not go out. I mean, that's how I was when I stopped drinking.
He gotta have whole new friends now.
I mean, it could be a thing.
Damn. Well, shout out for making decisions that are right for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what else you get out of your chest?
This week, I really wanted to talk about abortion. I feel like it kind of is in line slightly about what we're talking about. And, you know, like, there's been a lot of controversy over the last 2 years because they're taking women's rights away from being able to have access to that. There's a lot of pro-lifers who ain't helping nobody with no babies, ain't adopting no kids, not doing anything that will want people who don't want a kid to still want to have it, or providing any type of resources for them. I just think it's selfish and thoughtless. But I seen a clip of a podcast. It's called the Hysteria Podcast. It's on Crooked Media. Crooked Media is like a platform, and they discuss a lot of like political and socio-economical issues, and they also present solutions. So it's a cool platform. So this week they had Chrissy Teigen and Monica Simpson of Sister Song, Woman of Color. And they were discussing abortion and basically like what it is, and the fact that people have so many misconceptions, or they don't realize that fully what that entails. And when you take rights away from somebody that might just be getting an abortion because they're not ready to have a kid, but also somebody who is in a serious life-threatening situation, that is also legally considered an abortion. It's like the same process. So Chrissy Teigen was saying, like, you know, when her and John went through their miscarriage, she didn't realize she was having an abortion. So when all of this stuff was taking place, she's like, oh, I feel sorry for those people that's impacted by this. And John was like, we are those people. Like, we had an abortion, and she was like, it didn't click to her that happened. One, because it was happening so fast, because once they tell you, like, you're septic and you need to get this baby out of you, all you thinking is, okay, yeah, do it. Unless you're willing to die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And absolutely, like, anytime you have to get a DNC, or if you have a pregnancy where your child is not living anymore, they have to remove the baby from you depending on how far along it is. And if abortion is banned, that means this will create a whole new problem of women who are in those positions and cannot get an abortion or a removal of the fetus. Because two things is going to happen. You either have to wait for the fetus to pass, which is very unlikely, and in the time of waiting for the fetus to pass, you're going to go septic because you're literally carrying a dead body, and you're going to be dead. Like,
that's crazy.
Wild. And so the good thing is that they have overturned the decision, like, that they were trying to take away rights for abortion, and so now the states have to, you know, put it back in place, and that's great. So shout out to that.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I don't know why Unity just popped in my head.
My Queen Latifah? I mean, we do gotta come.
UNITY. UNITY is a unity. You know?
Yeah. You know, everybody think it always can't be them until you in that situation. To either have an unwanted pregnancy or, you know, something like that where your life is at risk. You always think it can't be you. And then it do be you. And then you be wishing that you would have, you know, supported legislation that would help you in that situation.
Wishing you would have voted.
Exactly. Yeah. And some people, they do be voting, especially white women, but they just vote in favor of maybe religious preferences, maybe
whatever their man says.
That's definitely a thing. Or just like, say if they come from a Republican family, they never like go outside of that to research or think about what it is that they believe and should support, and they just like blindly support whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just glad that that's taken care of, and hopefully we won't have to go back to this issue, because we definitely need abortions. It's not a question. I don't even know why this was being investigated. So you want to get into the affirmation of the week?
Let's do it.
The affirmation of the week is, it doesn't take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to support a mother. Facts. I seen this on Instagram. It was posted by @organically.maddie. And I seen it and I was like, yeah. You know, people always say it takes a village. But a lot of people can be parents. But when you have that support system, then that is going to be more likely that you're a good parent. And when you don't have the support system, it's just more difficult, you know, to keep showing up at how your kids need you to. Whether that could be financially, emotionally, you know what I'm saying? Everything.
Shit crazy.
So what are we discussing this week?
This week, we're discussing trying to figure out how to word it.
Well, maybe we're not essentially discussing it, but we're prompting the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are kids a blessing? Are children a blessing? Are babies a blessing? Yeah.
Is pregnancy a blessing?
Well, I have an answer to all of the above.
And?
No.
You want to share with the class why you feel that way?
Instead of me sharing that, I want everybody to really answer the question, if you believe they are a blessing, or if you believe pregnancy is a blessing, really think about your answer as to why. Mm-hmm. I feel like the answer to that often crosses over to just the terrible reasons people feel like you should have children anyways. Mm-hmm. And that is not for everybody. It's not a part of everybody's journey to have a child, to raise a child, to be in any child's life.
And listen, when people are and they do not have the qualifications, children suffer. Yeah. I honestly do not think children are a blessing. And I honestly think that the only reason people are like pushed into having children and more having children is so that there is constant reproduction for the workforce. Mm-hmm. Like now that this is another reason why they want to ban abortion, so they can make people have babies. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of women are choosing not to do this shit. And for good reason. Yeah. One, that's the top reason, is financial, honestly. Yeah. You can't afford to buy a house anymore. You can't afford to pay your rent on one full-time income. Mm-hmm. What do you look like responsibly bringing a baby into the world?
Yeah. It's honestly just not a smart decision for a lot of people. And people just be having kids because they accidentally got pregnant, or they just don't believe in abortion, mm-hmm. which... If you don't believe in abortion, then why are you fucking like this? But
that was one of my main reasons for being pro-life, was that I felt like people were just being irresponsible and reckless. Mm-hmm. Not to say that some situations happens, like a condom don't break, or, you know, your birth control failed, but more than likely people are just having unprotected sex all willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. And then they say it was an accident. It's not an accident if you did nothing to prevent it at all. You're not on any birth control. You're not using condoms. You're not even making the nigga pull out. Yeah. It wasn't an accident. It just wasn't planned.
And even in saying that, wasn't it though? You literally took all the steps. Yeah. I never understand that. I don't remember what point I was making prior to that, but ciao.
I was really excited to discuss this topic because I never wanted to have kids, and I wish I would have honored that in myself, because something told me, not that I wouldn't be a good mother, but then I didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And there's a good reason for not want to be a parent. Like, there is a lot of responsibility in being a parent. Like, what do you feel like some of those responsibilities entail? And support our observation that they definitely are not a blessing.
I don't know how this is gonna sound. Mm-hmm. They're really inconvenient. You have them, they waking you up all times of the night. You can't do nothing because you got to make sure that they're alive and taken care of. And then they get older and somehow you still have all this same responsibility. You're just not changing their diapers no more. Mm. And then other people get involved. And then you got to work on yourself. And I feel like depending on when you have the child, it's like rushing you for certain growth that you maybe needed a longer process for, which probably leads to you traumatizing your child.
Or having mental health issues.
Right, or having mental health issues. It's the inconvenience for me. You know, my whole life, I never wanted to have kids. I always said, I'm not having kids. At some point, it went from, I'm never giving birth to a child. I still didn't want to have kids at all, but it was like, in the case a child shows up, it's not showing up from me.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, like, people would ask me why I didn't want to have kids, and I'd be like, I don't want the responsibility. Like, I was aware, even though I didn't know everything that came with it.
Mm.
Like, changing a diaper, me.
Yeah.
Feeding it, no.
And by the way, that never stops. Some days I literally never want to cook for the whole day, and like, I don't have a choice. Yeah. Today, I cooked sopa. And I cooked a large pot of sopa. I feel like it was enough for lunch and dinner. And that was my plan, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, Eva was asking me to make this sopa for 3 whole days. And so I finally made it. And she says, this is too salty. I tasted it. I thought it was fine. Max said it was delicious. Cherry said she had a good time with it. And I said, okay, well, if you're not going to eat it, then you're not hungry. She didn't eat it. She left her bowl right there on the table. It's still there on the table.
Well, I cleaned that.
You should have left it because she need to clean that shit up. And then dinner time rolls around and she's like, I'm hungry. What's for dinner? And I was like, sopa. And she was like, that was for lunch. And I was like, it's for dinner too. It's giving big pot of spaghetti. I think sopa is the Mexican version of spaghetti.
It definitely is.
And then she was like, essentially that I was abusing her. She was like, you are starving your daughter. And I was like, Eva, you're not being starved. We have plenty of food in the house.
Literally, I made so you many food. Options.
I was like, she was like, fine then, I'm just gonna eat something else. And I was like, okay. Like, it never ends. And the criticism and critiques that I have from children who can barely microwave a Hot Pocket is insane.
Barely know how to press add 30 seconds on the microwave. Like, what even is this?
Listen, I think
you eat Lunchables. Relax.
Girl. I think that I was totally aware of the responsibilities of having kids because in many stages of my childhood, I was raising myself, or my sister was raising me, or I was raising my little brother, or I was raising my cousins. Mm-hmm. So I knew the responsibility. I knew the responsibility because there was times that we didn't have what we need for financial reasons. Mm-hmm. But what convinced me to have children was societal pressure. Mm-hmm. Once I got married, my ex-husband wanted to have kids, and then I said, well, this is the right thing to do because this is the next stage in life. Once you get married, then you're supposed to have a baby.
Right.
Even though I knew that was something that I didn't want. But I felt like because now I'm married, I have a responsibility to compromise in my relationship on that. Mm-mm. And honestly, it was one of the worst decisions I made in my life. Do I love my kids? Absolutely. Would I take them back? No. But do I regret not staying true to myself and listening to my intuition? Absolutely. I'm the type of person that really doesn't like to have responsibilities. I don't like to be tied down at a job. I don't like to live in one place. Everything about me screams, you shouldn't be a parent. Yeah. And so constantly I'm having to decide now as a 33-year-old between things that's going to be fulfilling to me, and also at the other time, is it going to be harmful to my kids?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Because you can't make any decision without considering them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to go back to your earlier point of why it is that people want to have kids. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. My reason for having kids was societal pressure, and that was really it. But some people's relationship reason for having kids is creating a legacy. because they didn't have any preventative measures in place. They didn't even think about it. There was no thought behind it at all. Some people decide that they want to have kids because it's just what you do.
Some people decide that they want to have kids because they didn't have the family that they wanted growing up. So they want to create the family, even though they don't want to be parents.
No. And some people have kids as a tool for manipulation and control.
Mm-hmm.
Children can be used as a pawn in an abusive relationship.
Facts.
Whether you're with them or not.
Yeah.
I think it's important to think about your qualifications of being a parent, your support once you become a parent, the trauma that you have experienced, and what is that going to do to your children once they're here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who decide, a lot of women who decide now not to have kids just based off of strength that they've been through so much and they don't want to fuck up their kids. And everybody has experienced trauma to the point where it changes something in you, whether it's for the good or the bad. And therefore, your child is going to experience some trauma just with you growing and learning. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say stuff like, oh, it changed my life when I had a kid. It changed who I was. I don't know who would I be right now. They say stuff like, you know, I just feel so lucky and so blessed to have this child. But it's like,
because your child has been your active therapist instead of you actually getting the help that you need. Which also, don't have a child because you need to slow down. I heard that a lot growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's along the same lines as wanting to settle down with somebody. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's not why you should do that.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any good reasons to have kids. Mm-hmm. I think that, yeah, my kids add a lot of joy to my life. I enjoy being their mom for the most part. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of fears that I have being a parent. Things that are totally out of my control. Experiences that my kids are going to have that I'm not going to be a part of or going to be able to say, this is how they're going to experience this. Mm-hmm. There is a lot that goes into parenting. And for me, one of the hugest things is the relationship I have with my kids. That's one of the things I worry about the most. Like, are we going to be BFFs in 10 years? Are my kids going to hate me? Are they going to feel the same way that I felt about my parents? You know, and I'm constantly processing that and in turn projecting certain things on them. I feel like nowadays we would say like, oh, our parents was abusing us, and like we don't want to be anything like those type of parents that we take it so far left, where now our kids are not having any discipline or they're not able to learn certain lessons. We're like hover parenting over them because we don't want them to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And it has to be a balance.
Yeah.
I mean, we are firm believers in gentle parenting. I don't think you should be hitting your kids at any way, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, no. I think that it takes a lot of personal growth to have a good relationship with your kids. One thing that I have learned as a mother is that me and my kids I'm constantly being reflected in my kids. And so the things that I don't like about myself, but that's who I am, they're repeating those behaviors back to me. Mm-hmm. I'm constantly being triggered because the parts of myself that I wasn't allowed to express as a child, it's triggering seeing my kids behaving that way because a part of me deep inside feels like it's wrong. For years, it took me years to let Eva just cry. Because when I was a kid, my family, my parents, they would say I was too sensitive. They would say, stop being a crybaby. And it got to the point where I hate crying now. This is the first year of my life that I have ever cried this much because I felt ashamed expressing those feelings. And then here I was projecting that on Eva, like, stop crying. It's not that serious. And those is reasons why you shouldn't have a kid, because you don't know that stuff about you until it's happening.
Yeah.
And even then, sometimes it's happening to you, and it takes years for you to realize that you're not being a good parent to your kid.
Yeah, because you have to be able to look at yourself and really analyze your own behaviors and self-reflect and think about how you can be better for yourself. And that's going to affect how you're better for your kid.
Yeah, exactly. Having a kid is having just the same as having a relationship that's romantic or platonic or familiar. The relationship that you have with your parents is no different than that. And so, just like we say all the time, the more that you work on yourself, the more that you learn yourself, the more that you grow, that's only going to impact your relationships better. But there is certain things and experiences that you're not going to grow from until it's happening. You can't predict that you are going to have an impasse of like issues or growth at a certain point. And a lot of times, like you said, it's like you're being thrust into that situation when you're not really ready to really embark on your healing journey just because you have kids.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure it out. And people say shit like, oh, me and my kid grew up together. And I genuinely hate that, because my mom had me when she was 18. And so I understand the effects of that, of having to grow up with my mother, because she was still trying to learn and navigate and figure out herself. And so I was constantly being influenced and damaged because she needed that time to figure her life out on her own as not being a mom.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point that by the time I was in middle school, my mom I feel like was totally neglecting us and abandoning us because she didn't get that time, what I feel like in her young adult years, to just be her, to just live her life, to not have to worry about anybody. And, you know, for me personally, that's why I feel this way too, because of the type of childhood that I had. Like, there is a lot of trauma that your kid's gonna go through, and all of us, I think that we have a mother wound and a father wound to like some degree. And it just depends on how much were you traumatized, how did it affect you, and how was that playing a part in your current state of being. Like, when somebody say, oh, I got mommy issues, I got daddy issues, like, that's not like to be taken lightly. That literally means that whatever your parent was doing at whatever times in your life, mostly your formidable years when your root chakra is being formed. I was just talking to my cousin about this because I was like going through her birth chart with her. And she was saying, like, in her birth chart, it was just saying like how attractive she is and like how people are just gravitated to her, not only because her energy but her beauty. And she's like, this is crazy that this is saying this in my birth chart, but I literally don't feel that way. And I was like, Mani, it's because you were bullied so bad, and so that changed how you felt about yourself. Now you're perceiving yourself not through your own lens, but through the lens that other people told you or made you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, your parents be your first bully sometimes.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And then that's things that you hold on for the rest of your life, and you're like, oh, I got mommy issues. Like, you absolutely do. Like, you know that you have a mother wound if you have a lack of boundaries, if you don't have a sense of yourself, like you're constantly feeling like you have to figure out who am I. You engage in savior behaviors, like when you enter relationships, whether that's with your friends or romantic partners, you feel like you have to fix them or change them or even change yourself to make them happy, people pleasing, or even controlling behaviors like going through people's phones or telling them you can't do this. You're not allowed to go on a girls trip, or, you know, you shouldn't be wearing this. Like, because you're not stable in just being yourself, you feel like you have to like control other people. And then there's like body shaming. You body shame other people, you body shame yourself. You're so critical of how you look all the time. And then it's that other thing of like, as we get older, we're constantly doing things to try and gain the approval of our parents, like specifically our mother. It's like, I'm doing these things because I know it's gonna make my family happy or make my parents happy, and that could impact you in like what career you decide to go into, whether it is that you have kids or not. All those kind of things. It's very serious. And then sometimes we feel like we never got that love as a kid, so we're constantly trying to get it either from our mother or from someone else. And then we feel unworthy. You know, our self-worth is so low in the fucking trash can. I feel like that's why a lot of people, they get into their first relationships and they're so insecure. They're so easily manipulated and taken advantage of because their self-esteem's already in hell. Yeah. Somebody can tell you anything about yourself and you'll believe it because you already don't feel good about who you are. And then there's like that secret competition that women have with each other. And it's like comes from maybe your mom being competitive with you. So then you go out into the world and your relationship with other women is skewed. You might not trust other women because you can't even trust your own fucking mom.
What is it about the whole when moms compete with their daughters? Like, do you think they're just jealous of them having, I guess, new opportunities? Or
I feel like the reasons vary and it's based off of that mother's trauma. You know what I mean? Some of it is like the mom be trying to live through the daughter. You know what I'm saying? So they control in every aspect of their life, or they want them to do certain things, follow certain careers, have certain hobbies because they didn't have those opportunities. And then there's the ones who maybe they feel their daughter is more beautiful than them, or weird situations when their romantic partners be attracted to their daughters and stuff, and then that creates a whole unhealthy situation between the mother and the daughter instead of them just like leaving the dude alone. There's so many reasons, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just really depends on the person. I feel like that's something that you have to ask yourself, like, why is it that I feel like my mom is in competition with me? I've said it before. I feel like a lot of older women, they didn't do the things that they wanted to do. They didn't live their life how they wanted to live because they was too busy, you know, going with other people were saying they should do. And so now they do have some type of jealousy towards you, like, and I feel like they kind of sabotage their kids in a way, like, because they didn't get those experiences or chances. Like, they'll literally give you advice to stay in abusive relationships, or they kind of dim your light, like, you shouldn't follow that career path. Just be something that's going to make you a lot of money. It's going to be a safe decision. It's so many things.
Yeah.
Like, mommy issues, they impact women and they impact men, and just on different levels. You know what I'm saying?
They run deep.
Okay.
It's crazy.
I feel like with the father wound, also it's the same way. It impacts men and women differently. I feel like for men, it really impacts like their self-image, their self-worth, the same way like a mother issue would be for a daughter. Like how a lot of men feel like they have to be a protector and provider and make all this money. It literally lowers men's self-worth so bad if they don't have the finances to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or they feel like they have to like hustle so hard. This is why a lot of men get into situations doing illegal stuff and getting locked up, because they had so much pressure on them to do something, to make some money, to take care of some people.
To be a man.
And is that really what a man is? I feel like when I think of what is a man, what is a woman, I feel like that's somebody that is constantly doing the work to be a better version of themselves. Like, doing the work is what makes you a man or a woman. Not having a certain amount of money, not being invested in a relationship at a certain time of your life, not being married, none of that defines that you're being a man or a woman. What are you doing on a daily basis to help grow yourself so that you're not impacting other people in fucked up ways? Like, once you're self-conscious, self-aware, and you're making choices that are healthier for you and other people in your life, that is when I feel like you grown.
Yeah. Agreed.
I feel like a lot of people, when they have a father wound, they reject love in their life. They're like, oh, I don't need this, or, you know, I don't need to be serious with anybody. You know what I'm saying? They feel like they have that hyper independency. You know what I'm saying? They try and punish other people for not loving them. You know what I'm saying? It's like all of the anger, aggression they might have had on their father, whether they were absent physically or emotionally, they take that out on other people. I see men do that all the time in relationships. It's like all the anger that they have for their father, they literally take it out on their sons or their wives. And it's like, now you're being punished for that person's mistakes or what they didn't live up to what you thought they should have as a parent. They feel that need to be tough. Like how I was saying about like not being able to feel and express your emotions. That's something that comes from a father wound. And being rebellious. And not in the sense of like, oh, I'm following my heart of being rebellious. Just in the sense of, I don't have to really do what anybody is telling me. Mm-hmm. Like, rather that is even being in elementary school from a young age, being like, you know, I'm not listening to these teachers and being disrespectful and stuff like that. Even coming down to the relationships that you have with your parents, you might not respect them at all. Mm-hmm. Because you feel like your father doesn't deserve respect. I feel like, and then as an adult, it's like, especially for women, you're like very wary of men. It makes you very distant from having relationships with men. I think a lot of women, that's what lead them to being in gay relationships, is because they really hate men. They despise them. All the interactions that they had with them is really based off of the father that they had, because we do kind of go look for people that are like our mother and our father. And then we have those relationships because that's what we're attracting. Mm-hmm. And it never turns out good. And then you like, okay, all men not shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or all women want is to steal your money that you ain't got. And I feel like the father one really leads us to that emotionally unavailable space that we were talking about last week in the episode. The hard to get to know person, you know what I'm saying?
You not just too much on me.
The codependency in relationships, a feeling that you need to have some type of control over your partner, over their relationship, by, you know, just having it on so tight, or the abandonment issues. Oh God, that eats us all up so bad. Yeah. And then, like we said last week, when you're emotionally unavailable, you attract those people right back to you. So, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Now it's got you like reeling, huh? It's definitely a thing. And like, this is a lot to process too. Like, thinking about not only why you should have kids, but being a parent. That's what makes you reflect even more on the relationship that you have with your parents. I often think about my relationship with Max and Eva, and I say, why couldn't my mom and dad show up for me in this way? Mm-hmm. Or if I'm looking at my kids and I can see this and their needs, and like, why didn't my parents understand what my needs was? Why didn't my parents respect who I was becoming? Mm-hmm. Like, I can look at Max and Eva, and there might be certain things of their personality that I don't necessarily care for, but that really is who they are. It's just my job to guide and lead them. They came into this world being them, having their own interests, their own thoughts and opinions, their own morals and values, and that's up for them to decide. Like, I wish that people let me decide, and maybe I wouldn't have been so rebellious or feeling like I need to get away from my family at 17 years old joining the military. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It impacts us in so many ways.
Yikes. Woo.
I think the thing that I was most excited, well, enthused to speak about during this episode is if there's a such thing as being too old to have a baby. And I'm not talking about reproductively, like if you're past menopause or if you or if it could be, you know, a geriatric pregnancy. I'm speaking in just, you know, regular terms. Is there a more benefit to having a child when you're younger versus older?
Answer me this. Whatever your answer is to this question, that's the answer. And I'm talking first answer, not after you thought about it. Is there a such thing as being too old for braces?
I think that if your teeth are still crooked, then you should be able to get braces. I mean, at a younger age, you might not be able to afford braces.
I feel like you're being politically correct.
I'm not. That's how I feel about braces. But it aligns. So I feel like that was a good analogy that you came through with.
Okay. Well, my answer, yes.
Yes, yes, and more yes.
Yes.
I feel like there are pros and cons. I feel like there are certain benefits to having a kid younger. And those might be the reasons that other people want to wait to have kids. There's the financials. Some people feel like I'm going to be more financially stable in my 30s, so I'd rather have a kid then than in my 20s and be struggling and not have all the things that my kids need. And then there's the you having the time to develop on a personal level and have certain experiences that's going to make you a better parent. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if you're older, that does contribute to you being a better parent, alongside of the fact that you just have that freedom in your 20s and 30s to do you. Like, and it took me so much longer to really come to terms with who I am because it was intertwined with me being a mom.
So sorry.
Like, once I became a mom, it was like, what kind of mother am I? Who am I as a mother? That I was separated from who I am as ShaKayla. Like, it was a process of self-discovery, and I feel like it's never ending. Like, I'm going to be 50 years old as a mom and be like, who am I right now? You know what I mean? Because your kids are constantly learning and changing and growing to themselves, which makes you question, what the fuck are you doing?
What if you want to surf at 50?
Then you should go surfing at 50. That will inspire your kids to do things. It's like people who go get a college degree when they're older, and it's like, some people say, oh, are you too old for college? No, am I too old to better my life at any point in my life? That could inspire your kids to want to do it too, or think that they can do anything no matter what age they are or what place in their life they're in.
I don't think there's a such thing as being too old for college. I do think there's a such thing as being too old to teach.
Yes, I do agree with that. I think that in any aspect, whether it's religiously, whether it's actually like school, because when you get to a certain age, if you're not continually growing, your mind is stuck. Your beliefs are stuck. Your behaviors are stuck. So like, I wouldn't want somebody that was born in the 50s teaching my kid, because what are they teaching them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to leave my kids with my parents for too long. Like, because they ain't going to raise my kids the way I would raise them. They're not really thinking in terms of today's issues or the issues that our children are going to face in the future. Like, absolutely not.
And just because of their age, it's like, to a certain point, they refuse to grow. So,
how many people we know that are 50 and older that won't even go to therapy? Won't even acknowledge their pain? And what does that do to the relationships we have with them?
Yeah. You bring it up and they say that they pray about it.
And that's the thing too. And you know how I feel about Christianity. And I believe in prayer. I believe in affirmations. I believe in talking to God. But I feel like you have to work with the universe to resolve your problems. You can't just put it into atmosphere, put it on the prayer line, and it's going to be solved. That's actually ridiculous. Yeah. And it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
It's getting me triggered right now. From that point of view, I feel like that is where the pros come in for having a kid younger, because you can relate to your kids more. Because you're, kind of closer to their generation. You might be more closer to their age where you understand what they're going through at that age, and not like, oh, really kind of forgetful about how you was at that age, and you're more like lenient or just like understanding, giving them grace of their experiences, because you was like, I remember when I was a teenager and, my mom wouldn't let me go anywhere, do anything, or, when I was a teenager, I wish my parents would have talked to me more about sex. When you get to a certain age, you kind of forget about those experiences that you had and the feelings that you had, especially when you suppress them for so long.
Yeah.
But I'm fresh, you know what I'm saying? I know exactly the experiences that I had, and I can use that to connect with my kids on a different level that I feel like somebody who is much older having kids may not be able to.
Yeah. It's less hiding and more relating.
Oh my God, the hiding pisses me off. Like, not you trying to act like the pot kettle and calling the kettle black.
Y'all gotta stop hiding stuff from your kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to be age appropriate, but like just pretending like stuff doesn't happen or exist, that's crazy.
Yeah. People say when you're younger, you have more energy to be with your kids, but when you're older, you have more patience.
That makes sense.
I feel like that's something that's on a real personal level based on your amount of growth that you've had at the time once you have kids. I don't think it really has much to do with age. Because somebody could be my age and I feel like they're completely immature. You know what I'm saying? Being older doesn't necessarily make you a good parent. Like,
true.
But in some ways, the experiences that you had up until that age will make you a good parent. Like, things that my best friend is doing with her daughter, which she had her first kid when she was like in her upper 20s. So she had a lot of experience to travel, do what she wanted to do. She's thinking about shit that I didn't even think about that she, instills in her daughter. Like, and when I was that age and my kids was that age, I wasn't thinking about none of that shit. Because when you're that age, you don't think to that high level of the future or none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so I do feel like, that is something that could be a pro as far as having kids when you're older.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I do think there are more cons, in my personal opinion, to having a kid when you're older, though. One of the things, and I actually seen this recently, one of my friends from high school posted this video, and it was in relation to Coi Leray and her father. And he was saying that he asked her for money. She had an interview with Angie Martinez, and she was talking about how she was struggling and stuff, and all the stuff that she had issues growing up, and her mom and her dad not helping her, and he literally was on Love and Hip Hop. And the fact that now that she's doing good, her dad will hit her up for money. And he's making a video in his car like, of course I hit her up for money. Like, she's my daughter. Who else am I supposed to hit up? And I feel like only in the black community is there a pressure or an expected responsibility to take care of your parents. I feel like in other communities, parents set their kids up for success, whether it is with funds for college, whether it is being able to pass a home down to them, or even just them having long-term care in advance planned out. Whereas black people, you'll see them taking care of their parents, you know what I'm saying, when they could be out living their life or getting their career together. Like, that's a common thing. How many movies have you seen where it's like a girl taking care of her mom, but, she can't really live her life because she got to be there to help her mom?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that could, if we really talked about it, go back to slavery and how that has affected just resources throughout each generation in different ways. But at the same time, it has to come to a point where we choose to educate ourselves so that we can do better for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything can be traced back to slavery in the black community. Everything. Because a lot of our thought process, a lot of the energy that we hold on into our body is rooted in what it was that our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers was experiencing. When you are pregnant, you are carrying the eggs of not only your eggs, but you're carrying your future daughter's eggs and your grandbaby's eggs. Did you know that? And so that means all the trauma that you're experiencing going through your life until you have kids, they're feeling that's being embedded in their DNA. And then your daughter is 20 something years old and she's having these issues, but she didn't go through the same trauma as you, but she did. She did go through that trauma with you on a genetic level.
Yeah.
And like,
that shit's crazy.
It is, but that's why it's even more important to consider all of that stuff before you have children. Like, consider, what was it that my mom was going through? You know what I'm saying? What was it that my grandmother, the experiences that she had? Like, all of that stuff matters. It really does.
Yeah. And speaking of passing stuff on, that's something to consider too. Because wherever you are in life at that time, that is going to play a huge part in who your child is.
Absolutely. And that's why when people have multiple kids, it's like, I say this, that like my sister, she might have got a different version of my mom than I got. And my brother, he was 4 years younger than me and 6 years younger than my sister. So he absolutely got a different version of my mom than them. And even like, you know what I'm saying, they have books and studies showing when it's like the first, the middle, or the last child, the type of person that they grow up to be based off of like the experiences they would have had with that parent during those ages or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And then there's health complications. Like, I feel like the older you are, even outside of pregnancy, you know what I'm saying, you start getting older and could possibly have health issues for whatever reason. And then that again falls on your child. The responsibility of taking care of you, worrying about your medical bills, making sure you have the things that you need. Like, if Max and Eva have to worry about that, it's going to be a long time from now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be like when they're 35, or you see some people, they have like those old ass parents and their parents die when they're like 19 and they don't have a support moving forward because their parents was so fucking old.
Yeah.
Like, to me, there's a certain responsibility that you have with considering the age that you do have kids and how that's going to impact your children, whether it's too young or too old.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're necessarily better with age. Like, I think that it's, like I said, all about personal development.
Facts, B.
I have one more question for you before we move on to mental health matters.
Ask me.
Do you think that there's a such thing as having too many kids?
Absolutely.
Your answer is yes all night.
I've thought about these things my whole life. I've always stood firm, you know. Even now, I stood firm and I have not had a child. I just have kids. This is gonna sound like a funny answer.
Okay.
But I'm dead ass. One is too many. I honestly, I feel like one is enough. Because of everything we just said. All that responsibility. I think you do yourself and your child a disservice when you add another child.
I disagree with you slightly. And maybe that's because I'm a mother of 2 kids, or it's just my feelings about that. But like, I don't know who I would be in the world if I didn't have my sister. And then like, with my mother being gone, what will my life be like if I didn't have a sister even though my mom's not here. You know what I'm saying? Or even say when your parents get older and they are having health issues, at least you have another person to lean on with those responsibilities when you have a sibling. Not to mention growing up, you know, how that can impact your development having a sibling. I feel like that people who are only children, they sometimes have issues with socialization, even like being generous or understanding like what it means to have to share with other people. Like that's something they have to be taught, where it's like not a learned experience for them, like in at home from an early age. Like having Eva 2 years after Max, even though she was right behind him, she was picking up so much stuff from him just by watching him grow. You know what I'm saying? And your second kid, I feel like, is always smarter than your first because they be learning shit from the first kid. Like, my sister was 2 to 3 grades ahead of me because she, like, got moved up in school, too. But when we was kids, we used to play school all the time. And so everything she was learning in school, she would come home and teach me, even though we were just playing. So by the time I get in even just first grade, I was so fucking smart. I was literally finishing my schoolwork in 5 minutes, and they was like, we're going to have to put her in a major work program. We're going to have to move her up a grade because I benefited so much from having an older sibling.
I feel you.
I mean, so I feel like 2 is enough, and I feel like 3, people say 1 is 1, 2 is 2, and 3 is 2. That's what they say.
What does that mean?
That it's the same thing. To having 2 is really no different than having 3. That's what they say.
Hell no. That don't even. I get it, but absolutely not.
My reasoning for saying that there is a such thing as having too much kids is the fact that you have to constantly split up your energy and attention between all those children. And like, no matter how big your village is, your children are going to need that connection from you. And so if you got 7 kids and you're trying to split up the energy between 7 kids, be there for this one's basketball game, make sure you're going to the recital of this one. It's just like spreading you so thin. And then also, what energy do you have to give back to yourself at that point?
Yeah. And somebody's always going to feel like they aren't getting what they need from you, especially if you have all those kids.
I think it's very irresponsible, and I feel like you're just asking to create issues and trauma for your child the more kids that you have. Because not only does that put you in more difficult situations financially, you know what I'm saying, you don't have the capacity to be emotionally stable for all of those kids or to be mentally stable for all those kids. Like, it's just not real. And people who have kids and they try and, a lot of kids, and try and say like, it's even, I love all my kids the same, or all of my kids, my relationships with my kids the same, it's a lie.
And I mean, really look at those relationships that you have with all of those kids. That's a lot of people.
So many people, they get older and then they have all those kids and none of them have really talked to them or have relationships with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can only feel so bad for them. Because what were you doing as a parent all those years for them to be like, I could live without this relationship?
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
I mean, you want to get into mental health matters?
Mental health matters. Yeah. That was the remix.
Okay. I like it. It's giving different energy. For mental health matters, I really wanted to like kind of just affirm you that no matter what age that you have children, whether it is at 16 or 25 or 40, you're really never ready to be a parent, because there's certain experiences you're not going to have until you are a parent, and that's just on period. Okay. No matter what trauma that you've incurred, you're going to incur more trauma. You might be 20 years old and you might have had issues from your childhood. By the time you're 40, now you got issues from your past relationships. It's always going to be something that you're healing from. So you're always still going to have to do the work no matter what age it is that you have kids. You know what I'm saying? I feel like for me personally, it took me a good 5 to 10 years to really learn how to navigate my relationships with my kids. And I feel that way about any relationships. I feel like to learn how to communicate healthily, to be more understanding, to be able to process your emotions and also be receiving your kids' emotions. Like, that takes time. You're building up a whole relationship and trust with yourself to even do what you're doing as a parent.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Respect.
All you can do is be in the moment that you are when you have your kid and be the best parent that you can be with the resources that you have and continually learn. You know what I'm saying? You're never ready. Even if it's finances, money goes up and down. You might have your kid and you got plenty of money. You all cushy. And then 10 years later, you file in bankruptcy. There is no such thing as I'm financially ready. Unless you Nepo or something like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no such thing as emotionally ready because your emotions are always going to change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's the journey. Shout out Tish. Big Tish.
Not Big Tish. Did you send me that funny video of her when she was going through her dad's things and he just passed away?
And he had all that porn?
Like, yeah. Like, it was hilarious.
He was getting it in.
The fact that he had that old ass like DVD player and she kept telling him, you can upgrade to a new TV. And he was like, no, I need my DVD player. But that's because he had all them tapes.
That's so like... He went out with a bang.
Technology is something because like back in the day they didn't even have like their own tapes at home. They would go to a video store in the back room to watch them or rent them. Like, what?
My hometown, I'm pretty sure the sex store has always been there, but I went in it for the first time a couple years ago, and it was just so fascinating seeing all of these old videos. It's like you could tell what was newer, but it was just like, this is vintage porn right here.
I mean,
and they had the back room that nothing goes on in there, but we know what we know.
That's like, I'm trying to remember what show was that, Pose, where they had the girls that was like behind the screen and they was like doing whatever they was doing inside the room and the men would pay a quarter or however much money the shade won't go down and they're in there jacking it.
Yeah. That shit is crazy.
Yeah. Like, the luxury that we have of being able to watch porn in the convenience of our own home from our phone and privacy, they didn't have that back in the day, baby.
With the privacy browser on, even though it's on your phone, you can never be too safe.
We can get into For Us Bias. This week, I wanted to bring up, her name is Teresa Solves It on Instagram. And she is a mom and also a computer scientist. She recently written a children's STEM book. And she also developed a robot to teach kids as early as 3 years old how to do STEM.
That's cool.
Super amazing. I feel like shit like this, when you're a mom, that will be your driving force or motivation to complete certain tasks or, hit certain milestones. Because if she never was a mom, would she would have thought about teaching kids STEM? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's crazy. Shout out.
Yeah.
Speaking of black people in tech, did y'all hear about what's going on with Afrotech?
What's going on with Afrotech?
Child, people are going in on them because they raised the prices to like $800. And they were saying it's basically just a big social event. It's like homecoming for black nerds. And it's not really...
Like it's a networking.
It's not like a conference. and people were pissed.
You know, I feel like even though we're in times where everybody knows that money is scarce, somehow people keep raising the price on everything. And it's like, what is the point of hosting and creating these safe spaces for black people if you're going to literally fucking rob them to have them there? Like, you're not really benefiting the community. All you worried about is getting more money. It honestly gets on my fucking nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same as y'all buying and flipping these houses.
Same thing, different story. I did want to bring up the Treehouse Retreat again. We have our first retreat coming up April 25th through the 28th. It's going to be in Rougemont, North Carolina. I'm super excited about this because I literally fucking manifested this. Like, you remember when we were like living in Virginia and I was saying like, I want to have a retreat for my birthday. And like, you were like, I don't think this is something you can like just whip up fast or whatever. But like, I kept that in the back of my mind, even though it wasn't something that I was like currently working on. And like, the way that the universe works and God works is like divine timing, and things will come around if that's like what it's meant to be for you. So I'm super excited to create, you know, these spaces for healing, to just do what I love. And like I said, and create resources for our community, impact people, and really do what we're doing on the podcast in a different aspect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
wellness baddies.
Period.
And what's a male baddie? How can I?
A hottie?
Baddies
Hoochie daddy? I don't know.
Baddies and badettes?
No.
Baddies and...
I mean, are men really being baddies nowadays? I mean...
They absolutely are. You know what? Baddies.
Oh, is it the sassy? What do they call it? Not sassy,
Sassy makes it offensive.
Okay. No, it's something else that they be calling them on TikTok.
I don't know.
I'll get back to y'all. Yeah, so if you're interested in booking with the retreat or just finding out more information, you can follow us on Instagram at the Treehouse Retreats. I'm currently working on our website, so that will be up soon. And yeah, I'm so excited.
Heck yeah.
I did want to quickly discuss, not really discuss, but bring up this Diddy lawsuit with Cassie. This is something that I feel like I predicted a long time ago was going to happen, not specifically with Cassie, but just certain things that he's been accused of coming into the light. Already less than 24 hours, they already settled. She sued him for $30 million. I can only assume that they paid her more than that to settle in one day. She dropped a statement and said like she felt like, you know, this was the best compromise for her, you know, so she didn't have to continue living through this trauma. And like I get that. For me, there's not a price on my trauma though, so take me to court because I want to drag you and I want to expose that ass.
Well, I think that it was more so she got to get it off her chest. I think that was really what she was going for, and the money is like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I don't want to say enjoyed, because nobody likes hearing that somebody is being abused or mistreated for all that time. But I feel like it was a necessary truth that had to be told, because this is going to impact so many other people that have potentially been abused by him, to also come out and tell their story, and not for financial purposes, but to bring it to justice. Like,
yeah,
allegedly he's done some really shitty things to a lot of people, and the basis of that is just even the shitty contracts.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I hope that justice is served sooner than later. Prayers
to everybody involved.
Well, let's move into the breaks. We're gonna discuss the new music coming out. The main thing I really want to discuss this week is Andre 3000's new album, which is no vocals. It's just only his flute, and there's different types of flute, so it's really giving what it's supposed to give. Mm-hmm. It's called New Blue Sun. What I listened to it, I specifically enjoyed the track names to think about.
So sorry.
What place he was when he was, recording these songs.
Long ass title.
So I'm excited about that. I feel like everybody should check it out and support him, because we always say, like, we want a different type of music or something that is going to be more beneficial to our community. And this is time to, like, actually support those things so that more people will be inclined to do it.
Yeah. And the frequency that, I've read that the frequency that the music is on is like a healing frequency. Mm-hmm. So...
yeah, I seen that posted on Debbie Brown's page, and she said, like, use it to meditate to, like, use it when you just want to relax, use it to process your emotions. Like, there are people who do this and maybe they don't make it completely known in their music. Like, Jhené Aiko's one of them. She's very intentional about, like, whatever hertz she's using or the instrument she uses, the sound bowls. Like, she wants to produce that healing frequency. So I'm all about it, like, if I drop some music, what it's gonna be on.
Yeah.
Also, new music that came out, Ari Lennox dropped a new song. It's called Get Close. What do you think about it?
I'm here for it. Made it to a playlist, the Stuck With Me playlist, if you're interested.
I feel like it's super sexy. We watched the video and she looks so amazing, per usual. Mm-hmm. She's got a little chocolate eye candy up in the video.
Shout out.
And it's just a sensual song, I feel like, that is about intimacy and connection in your relationship. So, we about that.
Yeah.
Next, Queen Naija dropped a new album. It's called After the Butterflies. I only listened to a few songs. I feel like her voice always sounds amazing, but I'm definitely going to have to give it a more listen to find out what did I really like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was giving crying in the car, so I don't know if I'll be back soon.
Yeah, it was giving breakup album. I'm like, did her and her man break up, or is she about to leave him?
I don't need that in my life.
You ain't trying to manifest.
Hell no.
All of the songs wasn't like breakup songs, like the one she had with Eric Bellinger.
Well, I mean.
Also, 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne dropped their collaboration. It's called Welcome to Collie Grove. I love 2 Chainz. I have been a huge fan of Lil Wayne in the past. I feel like they make great music together. Yeah. And what I did listen to, I like some of it. I feel like there was a lot of like up-tempo, wanting to dance, maybe twerking songs. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely gonna, listen to it again, especially like in the car.
Listen to it while I'm working out.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely was given that. The last album I want to mention is Ozuna. He dropped a new album. It's called Cosmo. I listened to a few songs and I liked it. It's giving exactly what Ozuna gives, which is like a cross between Bad Bunny and J Balvin. His voice is so pretty. The beats are just, make you want to get into it. But on the Latin side. So yeah, check those out and let us know in the comments if you listen to any of these. What's your favorite songs? What did you hate, and what are you absolutely not going to check out? Because we want to know that too.
Yeah, because I might check it out.
Want to get into Religion?
Let's do it.
What are we discussing this week in Religion?
The Kardashians.
Yeah, Cherry got me. She lowly, I feel like, been implanting a seed in my brain for about a year now about the Kardashians. And finally, I just gave in and was like, okay, let's watch it. It was mostly to, like, just make you happy so that we could watch something together.
Don't try to put it on me, girl. You
let me finish my statement. But and I felt ashamed about watching it because just the influence that the Kardashians do have on society.
Yes.
But the tea do be hot and the show do be good. And just from a familiar standpoint, I love watching shows that have people interacting in relationships because it's nice to reflect on your own relationships, and I enjoy that about stuff.
Yeah.
What are your feelings about the Kardashians right now this latest season?
This latest season, I feel like I'm enjoying the Kourtney and Travis
so much.
Khloe, I feel like I'm praying for her every episode. It's been like that for a while, though.
Yeah, for years.
She's always going through some things, and I feel like she really could benefit from consistent therapy.
I'm talking about Ayana Fix My Life.
Yeah. She needs to be yelling down in somebody's photo or something.
I feel like, considering the topic that we had today, that is something that I really do reflect on when it comes to Khloe with her relationship with Chris. Mm-hmm. She feels like she's the least loved sibling out of all of them, the one that she gives the less attention to when it comes to her business or personal life. I feel like a lot of people that she's in relationship to kind of like influence her to continue being in relationships that are unhealthy for her. Mm-hmm. Because of maybe what they would have did, or like, to make up for something. Like Chris specifically, I feel like in this last couple episodes, like she was saying like, you should just get back with Tristan, you should just make it work like for your family and stuff. And it's like, first of all, she's already tried to make it work 1,000 times,
and he's a piece of shit.
And I feel like really she's just projecting on her because she cheated on her marriage, or she wish she would have got that grace and forgiveness. And it's like, everybody doesn't deserve that. And for the amount of times that it's been happening, he especially doesn't deserve it. Yeah. This apology tour that he's going on with all her sisters, to me, is a manipulative tactic. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're together now, just because of all of that. I feel like her family enables her relationships, her abusive relationships. They support it, even when she's saying, this is exactly what I don't want.
They do that with her about everything, though. And I mean, at this point, she has to learn how to set those boundaries. But like, they don't listen to her at all.
And that's why it's important to have boundaries. But I feel like that's a common thing. But the other siblings don't necessarily speak about it, or they express it in a different way. Like with Kourtney. She expresses it in the fact that she has like fell back so much from the relationships with her family because it was so hard to put a boundary that she just had to step away. You know what I'm saying? Or even Rob. We don't know exactly what's going on with him, but he hasn't been wanting to be a part of the show for a long time. And I don't think it just has to do with how he feels about himself or how he's been portrayed in the media. I think it has a lot to do with his relationship with his family.
Yeah.
Specifically his mother.
Yeah. All of them have very interesting relationships with her.
Yeah. It kind of really pissed me off when she came through with the hologram, when Khloe said that she wanted to spend more time with her, and this bitch literally spent the time that she could have been having with Khloe to go get the hologram, practice it, make it, get it delivered to her house, and they live right next door to each other.
And she said it too when she was on there. She was like, so instead of actually being here, because it doesn't make sense, because you're still stopping and taking time out of your day. You have to be there in order for it to work.
Exactly. It's not like it's pre-recorded or anything.
Yeah.
And then to me, she just sprung it up on her and acted like it was a huge surprise and she should be grateful for it. Like bombarding her, putting the device in her living room, in her bedroom, in her kitchen. And like, if you know Khloe, even just from years of watching the show, she do not like that shit. She don't like surprises. She doesn't like you planning things for her that wasn't previously discussed, and you know how she is about her house and her space.
Yeah. She don't like all that shit in her house.
She was like, so when are you coming to get this? And she unplugged the shit like, absolutely not.
Because that was just crazy. And when they had a conversation before that, it was about business. Like, she was talking about how Chris literally doesn't designate people or time to handle her business. And Chris completely ignored what she said and made it personal and unnecessary.
Honestly, if I was a few of the sisters, I would be looking for different representation, just based off of the fact that, like, even though Chris has a lot of connections and she's good with convincing people and getting deals for them, I just feel like as a manager that you want to show up for you in a consistent way, that she's not that girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, she's doing too much.
It's the same thing of what we just said about having too many kids. And it's like doubled down because they're all her clients too. So not only in their relationships regularly are they having these issues, but also in professional setting. That's why so many people wouldn't work with their family, because it's messy.
Yeah.
I really did want to bring up Kim Kardashian being awarded GQ Man of the Year. I thought that was really spicy. Yeah. Obviously, I feel like they did that for the shock value, because anything you put Kim on, it's going to blow up or it's going to receive some type of attention, whether it's good or bad. I feel like men, they're going to give that outrage attention. Like, what the fuck? This is a men's magazine. What's Kim doing on the cover of this? But then women, we're going to support it because it's like, you know, women empowerment. Like, yeah, this is awesome. Honestly, I feel like women have been winning in comparison to men. Like, not to shut men down or shit on y'all, but like, we have really been taking the steps to grow, to be advanced in our careers, to be better parents. And I feel like a lot of us are being the man in the relationship. I feel like she was a good man of the year. She's got about 10 business owners on her hand. She went from millionaire to billionaire like the span of 10 years. And you know, I'm really not on the bragging rights of billionaires or millionaires. You know how I feel about that shit. But I just feel like she's doing her thing professionally. She looked amazing on the cover. When they did the like rollout, had the GQ party, it was so many women in attendance. Meg Thee Stallion, Chloe Bailey, Victoria Monet. So many girls was there. And it was like, I see what y'all doing. I see what y'all doing.
Yeah.
They definitely was trying to bring the black audience in. I'll say that.
Oh, for sure. You know they always trying to do that.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention about the Tristan apology tour that really pissed me off this last episode is when he met with Kylie to apologize to her. He's like wanted to apologize to Jordan through Kylie. Like, well, just tell her that, you know, I'm sorry for anything that happened. Like, you're literally fucking not sorry. You're a manipulator. You say everything that people want to hear to get past whatever moment. And he has to be a narcissist because everybody that's in a relationship with him, Kylie, Courtney, everybody except... I mean, not Courtney, Kylie and Kim, everybody except Courtney is like, well, he's a really good man, Savannah. But like, how much of a good man is he if he keep doing your sister dirty time and time again? He's not a good man. That's him. That's his character. This is who he continually shows up to be. And then you saying like, it just seemed like not like you when you did this, but like,
it's literally him.
And then got Chloe in the position where she can never not be in his life because now she's invested with him in different properties, taking care of his disabled brother. Like,
he got her real good.
It's really fucked up. And like I said, like you said, you know, I'm always like thinking about Chloe and just hoping the best for her and wishing that she would wake up, because that's the thing in abusive relationships is that sometimes you feel like you don't have a choice, and when everybody around you is telling you that you need to forgive and move on, eventually you might start believing it no matter how you felt.
Yeah. It's like all she do is forgive niggas. It's crazy.
Anything else you had to add to that?
Prayers to everybody involved.
Well, without further ado,
I've got time.